Okay, 1, 2, 3. Come and sit by my side if you're lonely. Close your eyes, drink some tea together. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and calm. You will feel that the life is so true. Come and sit by my side when you're tired. Close your eyes, put your hand on your heart. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and calm. You will feel that the life is so true. Come and sit by my side if you're crying. Close your eyes, put your hand on the earth. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and calm. You will feel that the life is happy. I just feel like I'm, I don't know, like at a folk concert in Greenwich Village, 1965 or something like that. And yeah, it's very cozy in here. So maybe we can sing it one more time from the top. And you can help me to sing nice and loud so I can hear you. And if you think you're singing incorrectly, then you just sing louder. And that way you'll know. Okay, from the top. Come and sit by my side if you're lonely. Close your eyes, drink some tea together. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and calm. You will feel that the life is so true. Yeehaw! Come and sit by my side when you're tired. Close your eyes, put your hand on your heart. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and calm. You will feel that the life is so true. Come and sit by my side if you're crying. Close your eyes, put your hand on the earth. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and calm. You will feel that the life is happy. Wonderful. How about We're All Moving, which I think is number 6, huh? And I know it sounds like the same song, but it's not. It's very different. And if you want to snap your fingers, you can snap your fingers. Here we go. We're all moving on a journey to nowhere. Taking it easy, taking it slow. No more worries, no need to hurry. Nothing to carry. Let it all go now, let it all go. Here we go, we're all moving it slow. No more worries, no need to hurry, nothing to carry. Let it all go, let it all go. Anything that you want to sing? I heard number 9, The Circle. Oh man, I can do it, but it sounds exactly the same as all the others. Because I'm not a super creative guitar player. But let's do it. We just keep it going. I don't even know why I stopped. Here we go. There's a place for you in the circle. The circle can expand. Come and join the circle. All people hand in hand. Love. There is love for you in the circle.
Please hold hand if
A
you feel
love
comfortable.
you can understand. Come and join the circle. All people hand in hand. Peace. There is peace in the circle. Non-violence is our plan. Come and join the circle. All people hand in hand. From the top. There's a place for you in the circle. The circle can expand. Come and join the circle. All people hand in hand. Love. There is love for you in the circle. A love you can understand. Come and join the circle. All people hand in hand. Peace. There is peace in the circle. Non-violence is our plan. Come and join the circle. All people hand in hand. Wonderful.
Wow. Brother, may I make a request?
Okay.
Would it be possible if you could sing the song Do You Realize, written by you?
Not written by me, but
Oh, not written by you.
Do you realize Flaming Lips? You know, it's a real Dharma band. If you're familiar with the Flaming Lips, yeah, okay, great.
Would you like a brother to sing? Thank you.
Okay. And if you know it, you can sing along too. Do you realize that you have the most beautiful face? Do you realize we're floating in space? Do you realize that happiness makes you cry? Do you realize that everyone you know someday will die? And instead of saying all of your goodbyes, let them know you realize that life goes fast. It's hard to make the good things last. You realize the sun doesn't go down. It's just an illusion caused by the world spinning round. Do you realize that you have the someday we'll die. And instead of saying all of your goodbyes, let them know you realize that life goes fast. It's hard to make the good things last. You realize the sun done go down. It's just an illusion caused by the world spinning round.
Good evening, dear respected teacher, dear Thầy, dear beloved community. We have 4 extra seats on the first row, which is VIP row. You don't have to pay extra money to sit on the front row. I still don't understand why we always make the front row empty. Please help me to understand. You know, when we go listen to Michelle Obama or all these famous people, you pay extra money, right, to be on the front row. I heard that. When you go to Beyonce concert or Taylor Swift concert, you pay like thousands of dollars just to be close to the stars. Are we not the stars tonight? We are the stars. Thank you, dear friends. Tonight is a very special night, and it's the energy that we just produced in the last few minutes that we want to keep for the rest of the night. Joyful, profound, meaningful. And so it seems like all of us are here already. So perhaps we can start. Are you ready for Friday Night Live? I think Friday Night Live is going to be much better than Saturday Night Live. Coming back to this present moment, we know that it's Friday night. And perhaps last week some of you went to Beyonce concert. Yeah. I know of one person who went to Beyonce concert before coming to the retreat. She's a physician. She wears green shirt. And she's laughing very hard right now. She's on the organizing team. Sent to announce in the retreat. So now you know who it is, right? If you want to know what that experience is like, please go see Dr. Juliet Huang, a pediatrician from Los Angeles. But you know, tonight we want to make the atmosphere like this, where we laugh, where we feel connected, intimate, where we are part of the spiritual family. And so please relax. Yeah, we are quite close tonight. I really like this atmosphere, this energy that we are creating. And so we invite you to come back to the present moment. Become aware that you are in the monastery. We may close our eyes or have them half open. Be aware of our seating posture. Relax the muscles on our face, our shoulders. Give ourselves a half smile as we listen to 3 sounds of the bell. Dear respected Tay, dear beloved community, welcome to Fireside Chat on the theme of sharing is caring. We care about each other. That's why tonight we're going to share. Up here, you see, we invited 3 special guests. Sitting next to me is Sue Rambo from New Mexico. She is an RN hospice nurse. Hospice nurse. No need to say RN, right? It's one. I was in nursing school, but I dropped out to become a nun. I failed my AP class. And I had an A for public speaking. So I think I chose the wrong career back then. So this is Sue Rambo, a hospice nurse and also a caregiver to her husband who has dementia. And then Joelle, who is also from New Mexico. She is a midwife with 18 years of experience. And then Hyodo, a hospitalist, hospital medicine. He has been a doctor since 2014, so that is 9 years. And to my right is Brother Min An, Brother Peace, from Deer Park Monastery. And you have been a monk for how many years, brother?
5 years tomorrow.
5 years tomorrow. Okay, so let us remember to sing Happy Continuation to Brother Min Leung, Brother Min An. Any other brother? And I also know it's Sister Tang Kam Tu's birthday tomorrow. She's gonna dislike me for saying that, but anyway. And my name is Sister Boi Ngiem. I've been a nun since 2005. We're very happy to be here with you tonight. And tonight, this is not Brother Peace. You are?
Brother Conan O'Brien.
He's Conan O'Brien. And I'm not Sister Boi Ngiem. Who am I, brother?
Sister Oprah.
Yeah, so, I think you pay thousands of dollars to come here tonight. Because to see Oprah and Conan, wow. In Mississippi, wow. That's gonna be something, right? And so we like to invite our 3 friends up here just to briefly introduce a little bit about yourself too. If you could share with us one cool thing about you. I know I didn't prepare you for this, but yes, we would love to hear a little bit about you.
So my name is Sue Rempel, and as she said, I'm a hospice nurse, and before that was community health. And my husband right now has dementia, so I'm also in the world of caregiving and have been for many years. And a cool thing about me is hard to say. I love to travel around the world and have been to about 45 countries, and grew up traveling in different countries as well. That might be a fun thing, I don't know.
My name is Joelle, and I am a nurse midwife. I have been attending births for 18 years, and it's been 18 wonderful years, unless it's 4 o'clock in the morning. And a cool thing. I can forage about 24 species of mushrooms without poisoning anyone.
My name is Hugh. I'm, as mentioned, internal medicine and pediatric combined hospitalist, meaning the cool thing about me is if you're sick enough to be in the hospital, I'm the one that takes care of you. So you don't want to ever see me, except for here, I guess. Does that work?
So Conan O'Brien, it's your turn.
I want to do like all the hair stuff he does, but I can't. Yeah, so thank you for your sharing so far. We want to move into a little bit about how we bring the practice into our lives and into our careers. And I wonder if each of you can please share your first experience of coming across Thay's teachings, and briefly about how Thay's teachings influence your practice and your life, and especially in your work.
Who should go? I should go. Yeah, you should.
Okay. I guess I'm going first. Okay. My introduction to Thay was maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I had a pretty robust meditation practice before that, but it was very, very different. And I think at a certain point I started to feel like I was maybe outgrowing my Sangha in terms of my spiritual journey. And I talked to a couple of friends. They gave me some of Thay's books, and I really enjoyed them. And then one year I was trying to figure out what to do for the holidays besides work. And I found this family New Year's retreat at Blue Cliff. And I went there like pretty excited to try something different. Didn't really know what I was getting into, and I got there. Probably within the first hour, everybody assembled around the bell and started singing, and like, I want to say I was like, great, I'm home, but I was like, I am gonna pack after dinner and probably head home. But I met so many people, and they were really lovely, and they could tell that I was a little bit nervous, and really by the end of it, I did feel like I'd made the right choice. And so it's been the foundation of my practice. How does it come into my work? In a few ways, but I guess to keep it brief, I'll say, it's pretty common in healthcare that you're always looking at your clients or your patients, and you're thinking about their medical history or their last visit or what happened in the past, and you are treating them or sending them for testing to prevent what's happening in the future. And there is very little time for the present moment. But in my work, there is an almost perfect present moment, and I'll leave it in the context of birth. At the time of birth, something really incredible happens. So oftentimes when people are having a child or adopting a child, they are their best selves. They want to be their best selves. And so right at that moment when a baby comes earthside, people are in such a state of wonder. They're amazed, and whether or not they are having a baby that's going to survive or not, everybody gets a little bit quiet, and they all bear witness to that moment. And it can be a long moment or it can be a short moment, but everybody is sharing the same experience in that moment. And it is truly amazing. I mean, I've been witnessing it for 18 years, and it's truly amazing still. I will say, and I feel like I should say, because many of us are here because we're trying to figure out how to go forward in our practice. That is one of the things I love the most about births. But sometimes I am attending a birth, and I usually take a minute to sit back and just be in the moment, witness everybody else in the room having that moment, and it feels great. And some days I think, well, what kind of world are we introducing this person to? Do they have a sustainable planet and clean drinking water? I think about whether or not they're gonna go to school and be safe or have to worry about being shot. I worry about families who I know that the adults eat every other day so that the kids can eat every day. And it's very easy to get caught up in that and to really just get mired in it many, many times over. But lately, I have tried to be very aware of those thoughts and those feelings, and the fact that I have a choice not to rob myself or anyone else of that present moment. Sometimes I forget, but I'll say that being here really helps to remind me that I have that choice. And that if I continue to bring my practice into my work every day, I could do it for another 40 years. Okay, I'm tired of hearing myself talk.
I learned about Thai long before I ever knew I wanted to become a doctor. I went to a retreat in 1997 at Camp Sealy. With some arithmetic, I think that's 26 years ago. And I was a teenager at age 14, and with a lot of struggles and suffering that was going on at that time. And over the, scary to say, decades now, I think the biggest impact that this practice has for me is when we as healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, etc., physical therapists, social worker, etc., we get their people in some ways at their most weakest, most vulnerable, most scared, with their most pain that they have, and not just the patient, but family members, parents, their children, husband, wife, significant other, whatever. So there's literally been times when I have looked at a group of 15 people all looking at me for an answer that I don't have. And I think that's where, at least one aspect of the practice for me comes in, where I need to be present in myself, in the moment, in my breath, to not completely be swept away by the emotions and the wide range of feelings that everyone has. Sometimes desperation, sometimes anger, sometimes regret and guilt and all that stuff. And I'm super grateful that I've been in this practice for this long, because I'm not really sure how I would handle those encounters without this practice to be able to keep me, at that moment anyways, at ease enough to be able to talk with them.
I met Thai first years ago through the book, The Miracle of Mindfulness. We were in a Buddhist Christian fellowship in my church, and we were reading that, and it just completely spoke to me about the teaching. And then from there, when my 36-year-old son was 2, I found a Sangha that was in the Plum Village, Thich Nhat Hanh tradition that was organizing, and so I was able to join it, and I remember sort of meeting him in the embodiment of walking meditation with my little 2-year-old toddler, and the gift that was, feeling both of us walking mindfully on the floor, and then my other one in my tummy. And then a few years later, don't remember how many, I met him in person the first time in Estes Park. And it was one of the first times they were in Estes Park, all the monastics. And I was so happy to meet this teacher. And I remember when he walked, probably most of you who have seen him had that same experience. When he walked out on the stage, it was like he was gliding across the stage so incredibly mindfully. It was not even touching the floor. And I was so moved both by that immediate experience with him of being everything and more than I could have imagined, but also sharing it with my mom, because she had come with me, and his words and everything that he shared just embodied who Thai was. In my work in hospice, I use his, and even before with my clinic, working in community health, the deep listening, and my medical director in hospice happened to be a Buddhist from another tradition, and so it was very wonderful to work together to bring the practice in. But one of the things immediately that she gave on orientation, which is not typical for doctors and nurses generally, was that first you stop at the door and breathe and prepare for going into this room and leave wherever you just came from in the last room and away, so we're fully present. And then to go in and sit down. Most people, nurses and doctors, tend to stand or even back at the door, because you have to leave quickly to go to the next patient or whoever calls you. But she had a practice that she trained all of us in, to sit down at the bedside and just to practice deep listening. And it was such a gift for me to shift from ICU nursing and busy clinic nursing to really being present with each person. And she was from another tradition, but it was so Thai in all the teachings of deep listening and sitting and being fully present. And so that was the beginning of us working to do mindfulness, not only with all the other nurses and doctors and the residents that came through for palliative care. And then we set up a program for residents to come in there first to understand hospice, but with mindfulness being such a critical part of it. So that was a sense of what I've been able to use.
Thank you, dear friends, for your sharing. I hope you brought some tissues with you tonight, because the sharing will be very personal and intimate and real. I think so far what our friends up here share, you can relate. I see a lot of friends nodding. And it is a deep connection that we are having. You know, the word relationship means emotional connection, and we are building a relationship that is healthy, that consists of care through our friends sharing. I would like to ask Joelle a question as a midwife. What are the joys of your work, and what challenges have you faced in the medical community?
Okay, we'll start with joys. Yeah. I would say that the first thing that brings me joy is taking care of families, taking care of women, those who identify as women, because I think there is a lot of burden placed on us, and the expectation is that we are unbreakable. And so I work in a rural health center in Gallup, New Mexico, and I mostly serve tribe members of the Navajo Nation, which is traditionally a matrilineal society. The women in society bear a lot of the work, so they work outside the home and they do childbearing and everything. They take care of the livestock, everything. And what they have a very hard time doing is taking care of themselves. And they've sort of been told that that is their last priority if time permits. And so one of the joys of my job is to have the time to remind women that they are important. They are the foundation of the society, and so it is important for them to be cared for and to take care of themselves. And I think I also get the opportunity to educate the whole family about that. And I love getting a whole family involved. The other thing that I like is the longevity of service to the families. And so I have been in my role only about 4 years, but I now have families who are coming to work with me, and they are having their third child. And so I attended the birth with their first and their second, and I know their family. And now, you know, their sister-in-law is pregnant, and they want to have their visit together so they can tell me everything that happened over their weekend together. And that's really, it's the best part of my day when I feel like people feel safe enough to come back to me. Sometimes a lot of healthcare is harm reduction, and building trust so that when you meet somebody who may be having a difficult time or has had a hard time finding someone to trust, that they can confide in you and will come back if they need something. And so I really enjoy that. There are numerous challenges in the healthcare system. In the rural healthcare system, it comes down to hundreds of things having to do with infrastructure. I live in a food desert, and so on the entire reservation that covers 4 states, there's maybe 14 grocery stores. During the pandemic, the whole world got to find out that most of the reservation does not have running water, and that the people who live there don't have rights to the water flowing under the land. There used to be 2 hospitals in my town, and now there is 1 because the community hospital had to shut down. The CEO was corrupt and stole all their money. And so we have a lot of people who now travel 2 to 3 hours for care if we can accommodate them. And so the main challenge is having enough space and enough providers to even be able to provide care. I mean, people would say resources, but we can do a lot with not a whole lot as long as we have the providers in the space. So we do our best. I also have the benefit of working in the city. And so I work at an academic facility at the University of New Mexico. And I work there mostly because I am sort of a liaison between the hospital and the clinics in my town to take some of that money out of the town and back to my town. And so we have providers that now travel out to the clinic to do specialized care. But working in any large facility, you run into the same issue of everything takes time. And so we need more days, we need more providers, and we have had probably 6 meetings about it this year, and we still have no provider and no more days in the clinic. And so the main challenge is conveying to the folks in the city how dire the situation is, and that we have to have more than conversations about it. And so, yeah.
Thank you so much, Joelle. Yeah, it's so important to acknowledge the joys of this work as well as the difficulties. I feel like no matter what we're doing, if we're working with people and we're trying to help people, there is this tendency to like just focus on what's difficult all the time. And yeah, I'm just really appreciating the opportunity that we have in this retreat and also up here to also, like, balance that picture a little bit and remember that actually, like, we love what we're doing. And to that end, I'd like to ask Hugh, Dr. Hugh, maybe to share something that you love about your work, and then also if you could share about what it's like to see so many people. I think compassion fatigue is like a term that we all became probably overly familiar with during COVID. I wonder if you like resonate with that term, seeing so many people, or not, if you find that term like kind of not like very resonant with your experience or problematic in some way. And yeah, if you could share about how to maintain that energy of compassion and service, especially for people who maybe you have a difficult time relating to.
I think that was like 4 questions. I think for compassion for people, as previously I alluded to, people are coming to, at least in my circumstances, right, in the hospital when they are quite sick. And hopefully I get them better. Not always possible. So I'm aware that they're coming in with so much expectations and hope and fears that they have. And I've had a patient once reported me to the Medical Board of California. I'm pretty sure he told the board that I was coming into his bedroom and smothering him with a pillow, because they literally came to the hospital and interviewed one of my patients, interviewed another random patient, because don't know why, and then him. And was recording me whenever I was speaking with him. And he was recording, I think, the nurses too. And I don't know, in my mind, I was like, you know, I think for you to be this angry and this mistrustful, you probably have a lot of pain going on. And I guess I get to be your vessel where you pour out that pain for this period of time. And either I can be pretty pissed off at you back about it, sorry, I'm not sure that's appropriate language, or I can just talk with you.
We'll bleep it later, don't worry.
Or I can listen and do my best to explain to you your condition. And I mean, at one point I frankly just told him, like, I can't go home with you and take care of your problem. Yeah, your issue is not completely fixed because it's never going to be fixed. So I think the issue, the aspect of compassion really just comes down to if I have the energy at that moment and had enough sleep, had enough rest to be able to hear them. And we carry at our hospital 16 patients on our list. Places, but at our place is 16, and there are 16 sick patients that is, you know, and as a doctor, I'm sure many people here are aware, you play social worker, you play psychologist, you play family counseling therapist, you play all those stuff, you wear all those hats. Probably only 5% of my time I'm actually making any medical diagnosis. The other time I'm playing all those other games. So I think it just, again, it comes back to this practice, the ability to be able to see them where they're coming from and realize that they just have no place they can pour out their pain, and they're just spewing it out like diarrhea, and you're caught in the crossfire. Sorry, medical stuff always has bowel movements involved, so. I apologize to Sister Dangim for having to translate that.
Sister Dharma talks, though, so I don't think she'll have a problem. Yeah, thanks, Dr. Hugh. And the next question is for Sue. I was sharing in my Dharma sharing family today that I felt like death has become kind of a theme that's running through this retreat. And yeah, as someone who's around death a lot, I wonder if you could share a story of how the death of a patient may have taught you, or how you practiced with the death of a patient.
Now? Yes. So I was thinking about one patient and what she or he or they taught me. But I think in my experience with hospice, there's been this collective awareness of things people have taught me about continuation. That, and it actually, I was saying earlier, it started intensive care nurse when I first got out of nursing school, and we would be coded, and they would have a flat line, which we would call clinically dead, but they, at different times, would come back into their body and tell me that they were up there, and they were listening to our conversation while we considered them clinically dead. And the more stories, and there's a patient I would help code and then have to run with my patient and come back the next day just to check on them. They had never gotten out of the arrhythmia when I left to go help my ventilator. And I would come back the next day and they knew my name. And they said, you were the one pushing the drugs, and that the doctor was calling out this and that went to call my wife. And they were clinically dead when I left. So I began to really understand from that experience that we don't leave our body, or we leave our bodies, but we don't die, because too many people had stories. So then when I got involved with hospice and began to hear more and more stories of going down a river, as it looked like they were letting go, but inside, many times they would experience this floating down a river as the words they could use, or going towards a white light, or disappearing in our life, what we would call they suddenly let go, and then they would come back later, and we are sitting there talking with the family. We didn't have them on electric monitors to cardiac monitors. Anyway, I had so many stories from patients and family members that I could tell that that's what's happening. They're not dying. They're really just leaving their body. But by telling stories that other patients had shared, as opposed to Buddhist philosophy and coming and going, and in that way, depending on what their faith tradition was, it really helped to offer comfort. More people, I found as I worked in hospice, wanted to know what was going on, were afraid to. And sometimes they thought the patient was afraid of what was happening, but the patient, as soon as the family would go, would say, because they would say, don't talk about death. They're at hospice house with a prognosis of less than 2 weeks to live. But the family would say, don't say the word death. Don't tell them they're dying. They don't know. And then as soon as the family would leave to go be with the social worker, go get some food, I would ask the patient, what do you think is happening? And they would say, I'm dying, but my family doesn't want to talk about it. And so I think the collective teaching of experiences of the person who is continuing out of their body, and the stories that were shared with me over the years, continue to be shared, help me to offer that comfort through true experiences, because I've found that people want to believe that they're not leaving, but our culture just doesn't teach that. So that is an important part of something I've learned. And I've had patients that were quite delusional and agitated and flailing, and every once in a while, almost like they're getting exorcised. It was like The Exorcist once or twice, where I just thought, what is happening with this person? We can't calm them down with medication. And I've also learned through patients sharing, or the families helping me understand, many people who had traumatic childhood, or at some point in their life trauma, if it hadn't been worked through, sometimes it manifests in a lot of suffering, what appears to me as suffering, but to see them whirling around and then finally settling in a place of peace so they can leave this earth and their body in a peaceful place has also been a real gift for me to understand that it's not always that we need to get them so settled they look peaceful for the family, but that we need to encourage the family to understand when we see the kind of distress and hear the stories about what might be happening, to help them be comfortable, but not drug them to the place where they can't process what they need to process to move through end of life and into peace. I think, did I speak enough, or is there anything else you ask? No. About hospice, that it's just been such a gift for anyone who has been around it. Oftentimes you can experience it, but people often say to me, Sue, you're such a gift to work in that area. It just has to be so draining. And in the beginning, it did drain me a lot because I just took every story and patient and family as my own, and I had sort of layered upon layer of grief. And then I realized that, oh, I need to let go of this to continue the work. But when I started really understanding the beauty of the transition, we were talking about how midwifing babies into life is very similar to midwifing people out of their bodies into this next life, and that for me, helping families and the people that I care for to understand that, it just brings me so much joy, because in our culture we don't always talk about death, we don't understand it, and the Buddhist teaching of continuation has really been a gift for me to describe to other people, not necessarily using the Buddhist language if that was something that would bother them, although I often give them Thais books or quotes when they say, help understand that this is actually a beautiful part of life. And I have had many friends for various reasons throughout life, and I've always said, if you just go to hospice, it is such a gift to be with people who are at that place in life, and it teaches you so much to take away the fear, and it's also just such a gift to be in that world. And it's just been so true. Everyone I know who I've suggested to volunteer has said, oh, thank you so much. I would never have thought that would give so much to them. But anyway, so I'm offering that if anyone wants to ever find that joy. It's such a gift, and it teaches you so much.
Thank you, dear Sue, for reminding us and encouraging us to talk about death, to make it natural and normalize it, because it's a part of life that we all will experience, whether we like it or not. We just don't know when, right? Before we go to the next question, I'd like to invite the whole community to listen to one sound of the bell. Sister Sungyeom, could you please invite one sound of the bell? Thank you. There's a famous song that perhaps many of you know. It's called Imagine. There's a speech that perhaps all of you know. It's called I Have a Dream. So this question about, to any one of you, is an open question. If you feel that your heart is calling to answer this question, please grab the mic as soon as possible, but don't fight over it. You know, when the organizing team met and we proposed these questions, we were very careful about the usage of the word burnout. Because we want to ask the question in a way where it is not the responsibility of the physicians or the healthcare professionals to change the system. That is too much to ask. So let us dream, let us imagine, let us wish. So What changes would you like to see in the healthcare system that would help you to prevent burnout? And how does practicing with spiritual community help you in your life of service? So what changes would you like to see in the system to help you prevent burnout? He'll pick it up first.
So I spend a lot of time in my work. I work with residents at the hospital I work at. And obviously, at one point I was a resident. Maybe not obviously, but at one point I was a resident. And burnout is kind of like the buzzword nowadays. It's used a lot because, frankly speaking, many people are tired. A lot of people are angry. There's lots of patients with depression, teenagers, literally at any given moment in the day, there's like 10, 15 teenagers in the hospital that are self-harming in some way. And can't even begin to count the adult side. And burnout is used a lot. And I had to spend a lot of time thinking about what is this burnout, right? And people talk about the symptoms of it. You have anger, you have depression, you are sleeping all the time, you're self-medicating in whatever way, Netflix, other stuff. And I'm coming to realize what burnout is essentially, on the grander scale, is what helplessness as a nation we're feeling is, right? I don't want to speak to the large scale of the world at this point, but just maybe the nation. A sense of helplessness, a sense that our actions are just spinning a little wheel and we're running around in a circle, and it's not producing whether changes in our life, getting us out of whatever rut we're in, or changes in the system that we're working in. And I mean, I had this conversation with the group and myself too, like, to talk about the idea of like, how do we change, or what can we change in the healthcare system, kind of makes it, in of itself, that comment is impossible, because the healthcare system does not exist in a silo of its own, right? The healthcare system exists within our social, political, economic system that we have in this nation. We live in a nation where the political system, like say in the state of Alabama, is actively disenfranchising black voters, where 64% of Alabamians are non-Hispanic white, but have 86% of a congressional district. We live in a social system where black women are dying or having morbidity at a much higher rate during pregnancy, where an pregnant Olympian woman died at a home and nobody even knew about it, and was found later on through a well check, and an autopsy basically just showed her having complications during labor. And this woman and would have been baby died. All right, we live in a social system right now where legislators are actively passing legislations that are preventing physicians and other healthcare providers from providing medical necessities to individuals, groups of individuals, where these legislators may or may not even actually understand what legislation they're passing, where a specific legislator, I believe it was in Montana, Wyoming, asked an obstetrician gynecologist, can a woman just swallow a pill in order to get her gynecological exam? I hate to break it to you, but there's no connection between the GI system and the gynecological system. I'm not entirely sure how that OB-GYN didn't just laugh or whatever. So this is our world. And then our economic system, where money doesn't flow to those that are most in need. Money flows to those who already has it and has more power to get more of it. So how to stop burnout when this is the system that we're in? And I think the answer I have, at least just for me, as opposed to just presenting so many questions and problems to everybody, is, like I said, it goes back to we have burnout because we feel like we're helpless, that what we're doing doesn't produce any real change. And that is where we feel defeated, we get depressed, we give up. So then this is where I am realizing that as practitioners in this practice, wherever we are at, we need to be in the position of a louder voice to change the conversation that's existing in this country, in our communities. Run for office, be on the leadership panel of your hospital, your community. Because at this point, we need a voice that's not out there, that's just speaking to division, speaking to misunderstanding, speaking to misinformation. But we need voices like ours out here, that this practice has, that when I hear people here speak on an individual level, I'm like, everybody's, a common saying I always hear is somebody's always like, oh yeah, I totally would vote for you. But we don't run, right? We're not out there. If we can get out there and speak this mission, this purpose, our practice to our community, to our state, to our city, to our county, to our hospital, and think big to whatever level we can think big. I'm not saying you're failing if you don't run for office, sorry. But I meant like whatever big capability you're able to do so. That could be one, I'm realizing, at least for me, one way that I can stop this cycle of feeling defeated, feeling hopeless, feeling like I'm on the list of 16 patients I'm taking care of, I'm probably not changing the direction of 15 of those people, right? But if I took care of those 16 patients, but then moved into a place where policy is helping these people, that when I'm discharging somebody who has a meth addiction, that I'm not sending them back home, assuming they have a home, to a place where there's just more drugs, but that there is a system, a policy, a legislation in place that will get them the care that they need instead of simply criminalizing them for what they did, but actually get them the care for what they need. So.
Thank you, Dr. Hugh. I keep saying Dr. Hugh because Dr. Hugh volunteers as the doctor at a lot of our retreats at Deer Park, so we put his number on the whiteboard, even for teen camp. So he comes and he's always been Dr. Hugh to me. And I think he'll always be Dr. Hugh to me. Yeah, thank you. Even if you decide to run for president. Yeah, I'm really moved by like the aspirations I hear voiced here, and in general the aspirations that I've felt coming out of this retreat, and they're big. And yeah, we have a challenging, difficult road to walk, but a beautiful one. And Thai is often encouraging us to, in these moments, to draw on the strength of our ancestors. And I'd like to invite Joelle to share how Joelle draws on the strength of her ancestors in difficult moments in her work.
drawing on the ancestors. Okay. I'm on a basic level. I draw on my ancestors every day to talk to the billing department and to medical records, and they help me stay employed. I think I think once I became a midwife, I really started to understand how significant it is to reach your goals or your aspirations. I've always been taught, and I've always thought that I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. They couldn't fathom having what I have or being where I am, and it doesn't really matter what's going on in the world. They would just be blown away by how far I've come. And I try to keep that in mind, because there are times that I can forget that in our everyday work. Most of my practice throughout my career has been in immigrant and refugee populations, mostly with Black and brown women. And in my state of New Mexico, that's not a large swath of the population. And so most places where if you are a Black and brown woman seeking care, you are unlikely to have a provider that looks like you or understands what's going on with you. They may not ask the right questions. They may misinterpret your symptoms. And sometimes it can be a challenge to convey that to my colleagues. So, for example, a medical example. I was working one day and I was on call, and the phone's ringing off the hook and the front desk is going wild, and I met a lady, and I asked what she was there for, and she was like, I'm in labor, but she didn't look uncomfortable. She was real calm. And I said, okay, somebody will come and find you. And she just kept looking at me, and I said, is there something wrong? And she said, no, I can wait. So, I went to get my lunch, and I came back, and she'd gone to a room, and they came and they said, she's going to switch services. She's on a specialty service, but she's going to be seen by a midwife. And so I'm the midwife, and so I attended her. She had like a really lovely labor. Her whole family was there. She had her baby, and I put the baby on her chest, and she just immediately started weeping. Everybody in the room was so happy, and we got cleaned up. We got everything settled, and she was still weeping. And the baby's sleeping on her chest, and I was like, that's really wonderful. She loves her baby, and she's very happy, but it went on a little too long, and I sat down on the bed, and I said, I'm so happy for you. You had the birth that you wanted. It was beautiful. You're happy about your baby. And she said, yeah, I'm happy about the baby, and I'm happy about everything, but I'm just so glad that I met you, because I thought they were going to let me die. And this, I'd like to say that's the only time, but this happens quite often, that I meet people, and some of them are less calm than her. I could be walking by, and they will reach out because they are convinced that when they walk into the hospital, they will die. And so as much as I love how far I've come, and I feel like my ancestors are standing at my shoulders supporting me, there is still a lot of work to do. And to your point, Hugh, I don't know that our ancestors could have imagined all of the different roles that we have to assume. Similar example, I met a young woman that I did not attend her birth, but I went around to meet all the postpartum moms, and she was holding her baby. Black woman, professional, very well educated. She had her baby, and she was unpartnered, and she was holding her baby and admiring him, and she also started weeping, which, like, on OB everybody cries, but sometimes there's something more to it. And the nurses called me and they said, "Can you go talk to her? We can't figure out why she's crying. Like, I think she has postpartum depression. Like, we don't want to send her home with this baby because she's not stable." And so I went to chat with her, and I said, I did a whole depression screening, was worried. I thought, oh, maybe we do need social work. And no, I said, really tell me, like, what is on your heart? And she said, from the moment I found out I was having a boy, I didn't know if I could keep him alive to his 18th birthday. I don't know if I can keep him alive to his 10th birthday. And she wasn't depressed. She just understood the world that we live in. And I think it's really important to have that context. I understood why she didn't think her son was gonna survive, but maybe other people wouldn't. And so that's why it really resonates with me that I have my ancestors always watching over me and just helping me to do the work.
Thank you, Joelle, for a very honest and open sharing. Sitting here, I'm looking at you, and you all work in perhaps different fields, different life experiences. And with Joelle's sharing, I hope that we all can open our heart to learn more about other people who don't look like us. Because in order to save people, we have to unlearn what we learn. And we can also learn what we need to learn. Because we chose this profession is to save lives, right? To prevent harm. And it's the same with the monastics. We are here to save people and to help people to have more happiness. When we sent out these questions to our 3 friends, to ask them to please write your name next to the question that you feel most comfortable to respond or to share. And I opened the file like 2 days before the retreat, and I only saw Joelle's name and Sue's name. I did not see Hyo. And I was like, he must be very busy. I will give him some credit and try to practice like positive thinking and sending my compassion to a doctor who is probably working a lot and say, oh, it's okay if he doesn't put his name next to the question. So Brother Min An and we sat down and we chose questions for him. Whether he liked it or not, now his name on this question. And it's funny that, there is a question that he perhaps did not seem to like. But of course, we did not know, right, brother? Right, Conan? I did not know. So the question is, how do you create nourishment for yourself so you rise above survival and thrive in your system in the midst of drama? And how do you not react and have choice in the moment? So Dr. Hyo, before you answer this question, could you share with us why you did not write your name? Was it because you were busy, or was there something else behind it?
So guilty. I will take advantage of the fact that I was busy. I was on a night shift Sunday night until Monday morning before coming, and then flew out on Tuesday. But that's just an excuse. To be honest, that I looked, as I told Sister Boingim, that I did look at those questions. I did look at it a little late, and so Sue and Joelle stole all the easier questions. And I saw that one, and I was like, there's no way I can answer this. And I really struggled with it because, like, I mean, the question that exists in there is like multiple questions. First of all, what does it mean to thrive? Right? Like, I like my work. I like what I do. I thoroughly enjoy the medicine aspect of taking care of patients and doing their diagnostics and figuring out, getting in them, the patient, the answer to what is ailing them at that time. And a lot of times that does bring a lot of relief to the patient because they're like, oh, at least I know what's wrong with me now. But at the same time, when it's the 5th alcohol withdrawal of the week, and I'm trying to see if I have it in myself to go down and talk with them and think about the 5th mindfulness training and talk with them and just to see why they're choosing to drink or whatever poison of their choice. And why they're doing it, what is the reasoning, what is their struggle, what are they trying to escape from? Or do I just really don't have it in me and I'm just gonna go down, say, hey, we're gonna admit you, and yeah, have a good one. Does that mean I'm not thriving if I can't do that for every patient, right? Or I swear when I'm here, everybody is so happy and smiling, and I'm not that kind of person. Am I not thriving then? Because I'm not so full of grins, like Juliet, for example. But it must have been Beyonce. I should have gone. So then, the question is, and then, the question of like, not to just survive, but thrive in the healthcare system. And again, that brings me back to like the system. We're not, and the system isn't also just where his system exists, is where I exist within the system too. Like, how am I feeling? Am I having to deal with parents who I have not been able to begin anew with and have not reconciled with, and then go to work the next day? So I don't know. I don't, that's why I didn't pick that. I didn't sign my name up to that question. Because I'm sure if I know the answer. I joke that if I had that answer, I would be at least a bodhisattva and probably on my way to being the Buddha. Because again, it's not just as simple as existing in the healthcare system and thriving in it. It's like literally, if you're thriving in the healthcare system, you're also partially needing to thrive in the world. But I think what Julia told me, we all have our ups and downs. We have, to reuse that word, moments of burnout and moments that we're prospering and walk away feeling like we made a difference. And there was a teenager, I think people who go to Deer Park maybe knows this, or teen camp specifically. There was a teenager I admitted once from the hospital, and I swear I'm not telling this story to pat myself on the back, but it's just a memory of like what made me feel like I made a little bit of a difference. But there was a teenager I admitted into the hospital because she was depressed. I went down to the emergency room, and she wasn't eating. So I wasn't sure if this was like an eating disorder case or what it was. And it just so happened she was Vietnamese, her mom was Vietnamese. I sat and talked with her, and basically she was just depressed, and so that's why she wasn't eating, not that she was trying to not eat, if that makes sense. And so then I pulled her mom out, and I spoke with her, and I said, you know, there's a teen camp coming up in 2 weeks. Or 2 months, sorry, correction. It was May, so it was July, it was teen camp, 2 months. If she gets out here by then and is doing okay, you should sign her up, because basically it's a place where a bunch of teenagers get to be without their parents. What more could they want? And I told her that, and then I admitted her and moved on and just forgot because, well, sort of forgot, but mostly I was just like, because, you know, I wasn't taking care of her anymore. Fast forward to teen camp, I was doing something in my tent, and one of the monastic sisters comes down and goes, Dr. Doe. And I was like, why are you calling me Dr. Doe right now? I'm just Hugh. I'm not at the hospital. Don't go. And she's like, well, during the teen, because the boys were in one group and the teen girls in one group, she's like, there was some teenage girl that shared that when she was at the hospital and depressed and was admitted, there was a Dr. Doe who admitted her and told her to come to teen camp. And I was like, oh. I managed to help one person. So I think, you know, in those cases, we take those moments where we can, and we take whatever differences, I mean, those are moving points about, you know, black men. Yeah, so we take those moments while we can, and we use it to push forward, to continue to, you know, fight for the betterment of our society and our world that we live in whatever way we can out there.
Thank you, Dr. Hu, for your courage in answering a difficult question. And of course, we don't need to have answers. You know, these questions are asked in the kind of spirit of Buddhist practice. It's questions and responses, and the responses can benefit many. Thank you. We're a little pressed, getting a little bit late here, probably getting a little bit sleepy, but maybe one final question for Sue. If you could share with us, please, about the importance of building supportive community in your work and how you've done that over the years.
Can you? Okay. The importance of building community, a supportive community, both at work and through my Sangha, but ultimately, we've had some discussions in our about the difficulty of toxic speech and people down or fighting or judging in workplaces. And I found starting a Sangha at work was, we called it a meditation mindfulness group, but we just for 15 minutes would sit all together, except I should say as many people as wanted to join. There were a few that didn't, but we would just sit and breathe together, and then give some little, either Anne, the medical director, or myself would give a little word for the day, or love for the day, or gratitude for the day, something that we could all hold as we went back out into the world. But it became wanting to have more, and so we would go out after work and have a meditation in the nice weather, which we have lots of nice weather there, but we would begin to build community, understanding each other, and that was really helpful. And I can think of 100 ways where it began to build trust for each other. And so when someone was having a difficult time at home, that normally you didn't even have time to share, it would be, we could bring a food circle of food or tea or go, and it really helped me, for example, with I'm a caregiver as well. Right now, my husband has dementia, as she mentioned, and I didn't talk about it very much at first because we were just so busy with work, but eventually, as people found out what George was struggling with, they began to say, how can I help you? And what can I spot you? And, oh, you need to go home for George. You've got this call. We'll finish your patients, or come back in the morning and do your charting, give an early report. But we were able to do that for each other and learn about each other's lives outside of just work. Found that it also really helped decrease the toxic sort of conversations that sometimes can happen in medical areas, because suddenly we were friends and we cared about each other in a deeper way. And so for me, in my work, where I've worked in different places, but I feel like I'm volunteering right now at Scott's House, which is a volunteer hospice in Santa Fe as well. And a mother who lost her son to HIV/AIDS and had nobody to look after him, and so she came to look after and saw the need for a place for people like him and raise money, and we all volunteer our time there. It's also been another place where building community, and part of it is with teaching mindfulness, teaching people who are volunteers what it means to go in and just be with the family or the loved one who has nobody there to be with, who's nearing end of life, or to come in. And it all, like when I needed to come here. My husband has been in a lot of difficult places over the last couple years, and I've counseled so much for people to take care and be there to take care of themselves, to take care of their loved ones, but I found myself in a world between all the things I was doing, not having the time or seeing where to do it, and I realized, talking to people who were my community at work as well as in Sangha, that it helped me to come back to the place of saying, you have to take care of yourself, Sue. My blood pressure was going so high, and I didn't realize it because I just thought, oh, it's the stress. But anyway, it's been very helpful to say, we'll spot George, we'll go check on him, and they've been communicating with me while I'm here so that I could be here and do what Thai teaches us to do, which is take care of ourselves so we can be there as a caregiver for loved ones. But it's come partly from work friends who I knew could get his pills down him, and partly from just other people. But did I answer the question?
Dear beloved community, thank you to our friends up here for sharing your stories, your passion in helping patients, as well as your dedication in bringing mindfulness into your daily life. And to all of our friends down here, come here and practice deep listening and showing your support. We hope that tonight's sharing continue to be a source of inspiration for you to bring mindfulness, your mindful breathing, your peaceful steps. Breathe before you enter into the patient's doors. Sit by the bedside of your patient and listen to what they are sharing. And honestly ask ourselves, is my understanding correct? And we hope that it is my wish to have a Sangha for healthcare professionals. And I did share this with Juliet. And let us dream, because through our dream, we can help it to realize. Let this be our volition. Let this be our aspiration to create Sangha, communities, for healthcare professionals, caregivers, first responders. Through that, we can nourish ourselves and care for others. And next time when you know someone who is a caregiver, please look them into the eyes and really ask them, how are you doing? Oftentimes when we go visit someone who is not doing well, we forget about the caregiver. We only go to that person who is not doing well and show our compassion and ask them questions. How are you? Have you been sleeping okay? But we forgot about the caregiver. And also, if you go to the doctors, you see the nurses, ask them, how are they doing? Have you had your lunch yet? Just these simple questions. Because oftentimes they don't get to hear these questions. And next time when you see the monastics, instead of asking the monastics, why did you become a monastic? Ask them, why are you still monastic? It's of our aspiration to be a caregiver. And, I think we're more of a caregiver than a healthcare professionals. So, thank you so much for being here tonight. And we also want to say thank you to our friends who are joining us online. In this retreat, we have, I think, 2 or 3 people from Europe, which is 7 hours ahead. And they join us for Dharma sharing, which is 11 o'clock their time. And they are not at Beyonce concert. They're joining. And I have so much respect and love. It's a teaching they're giving me. When we love something, when we know that this is the environment and the space that we find nourishment, so much nourishment that we will stay up late to participate. So thank you so much for being here. And let us listen to 3 sounds of the bell. I don't know if Brother Bin An would like to say anything. Or Conan O'Brien? Okay. Did we do okay tonight? Conan and O'Brien, Oprah, and our 3 special guests? Thank you. Let us sit beautifully and listen to 3 sounds of the bell. Please undo your legs and give it a massage before Vicky make an announcement.